Okay, this has got to be the weirdest yaoi show I have ever seen. I'm joking. It's not a yaoi show yet. But yes, The Summer Hikaru Died is finally out. Typically, whenever you say there's going to be a psychological horror thriller show coming out, I'm on board. I love Summertime Render, Higurashi When They Cry, these types of shows. I absolutely eat them up. And so far, with the first 2 episodes of this series, I'm on board. It visually looks incredible. The directing is phenomenal. The feeling of suspense, the terror, that looming threat that's kind of building up. And what's more interesting to me is sort of seeing the dynamic between the 2 main characters, Hikaru and Yoshiki. With Yoshiki's perspective, almost seeing sort of this slow infestation of his mind and his doubts about what he's done. And then on this side, Hikaru and, yes, him not being Hikaru and sort of being a little bit twisted and not human at the same time. It's all stuff that is just working out so well. But this is my thoughts on the first 2 episodes. Let's just jump into it. The series opens up with Yoshiki and Hikaru, and the 2 of these guys are completely inseparable. Like, they've been friends their entire lives. At some point, like 6 months prior to the show starting, Hikaru went up into the mountains, wouldn't tell Yoshiki why he was going up there, but he had to do something, and he went missing for an entire week. But then 6 months later, Yoshiki's kind of feeling something off about Hikaru. So he asks him, hey, do you remember what happened up in that mountain? He's like, no, I still don't remember what happened up there. Well, another weird question, are you really Hikaru? Sure enough, yeah. This being reveals that no, in fact, they are not actually Hikaru, but they're begging Yoshiki, please don't tell anybody, I don't want to have to kill you. And sure enough, like this weird kind of effect starts happening. It's like this goo is coming out of his eye. And yeah, he kind of embraces Yoshiki and begs him not to tell anybody. Well, Yoshiki at this point's like, well, what's done is done. If Hikaru is dead, I can't bring him back. And I don't really want to lose this Hikaru that's in front of me, so he just kind of goes along with it. All right, that's fine, I won't tell anybody. But what kind of follows this is the daily life of Yoshiki hanging out with Hikaru, this Hikaru that is not the actual Hikaru, some sort of being that has overtaken it. At some point, Yoshiki even asks this being, you know, what exactly are you? Are you a ghost or something like that? And it doesn't seem like it has an answer. No, I just always kind of wandered around the forest. The time that I met Hikaru, he was essentially near death, and I woke up and I was Hikaru. He doesn't really have an answer as to what he is or how the process actually happened that he took over Hikaru's body. We do get a glimpse at some point when Hikaru does sort of welcome Yoshiki to sort of reach his hand inside of the cavity that is his body, and it's like there's nothing inside there but like some sort of cold chicken sensation, like he's putting his hands in cold chicken. But through the days, they're kind of just hanging out. It seems like even though this being does have Hikaru's memories, he doesn't know the sensation of the experiences itself. So they'll go and get some food or whatever, and he's just experiencing it for the first time, even though he has memories of it. This school has this class where they're watching a movie, everybody's falling asleep, but Hikaru is just sitting there crying because he's so emotional about the movie, even though they've watched it 4 times. He knows about the movie, he just never experienced it. But anyways, that aside, their experiences together aside, over time, there seems to be sort of something happening within Yoshiki himself. As he's traveling around and hanging out with Hikaru, there is a sense here where he almost feels like this is wrong. That there is a feeling here that, yes, he does like the idea of not having Hikaru gone in his life, but acknowledging the fact that this isn't Hikaru. What is this thing? What exactly is it? Is it right that I'm hanging out with it? There seems to be like a looming threat here, a sensation within him that he feels there's a looming threat coming. And yes, this all kind of snowballs at some point when the 2 of them come across seemingly the neighborhood crazy, the neighborhood crazy old lady. They call her Loco Loco or whatever, Matsura-san. And Matsura-san, the moment that she sees Hikaru, she starts freaking out. No, you shouldn't be down here, go away, and freaks out and runs away. And this kind of unsettles them a little bit, but they kind of continue on. But turns out that night, something paid a visit to Matsura-san. While she's at her home, something is calling out to her from outside, claiming that they have a package ready for her. She's like, it's late at night. There's nothing coming here to deliver at night. You're trying to fool me. You can't come inside. But unfortunately, whatever it was trying to get in there is already inside. And she dies by, what they report, shoving her hand down her own throat. And this all starts to spark sort of this bigger picture story where a lot of the elders in the town get together and they're claiming that some sort of ritual, Indo's ritual, which apparently is Hikaru's father, or at least what was Hikaru, his father apparently did some sort of ritual, and apparently that thing has failed. That something has come down from the mountain itself and is threatening the people. And so they're trying to figure out what it is. And they end up employing a guy named Tanaka. Now, Tanaka works for this one company. Nobody knows what the company is or what the name is or what they are, but apparently sometime in the past, this company came to their village and stopped a corporation from like defacing the mountain in some way and preventing a greater disaster. There seems to be a lot of emphasis on there being some sort of sacred ground or a shrine or spirits or something like that in the mountain itself, and there was going to be some sort of remodeling or repurposing of the area, and they put a stop to it. But it seems like they still caused some other problem, and it seems like they're blaming this company for this current problem. It's your fault that possibly whatever this is has come down from the mountain. They do make reference several times to a Inuki-sama. Even in the opening segment where it shows what seems to be Hikaru's last moments, he was calling out to somebody to come help him, even Inuki-sama. So it does sort of put a little bit of weight to the idea that whatever is possessing or whatever is taking up the appearance of Hikaru might be this Inuki-sama. But anyways, this Tanaka from this company ends up coming to visit, checks out the house where Matsura died in, is investigating it. They find out that apparently when she was very, very young, she got lost at some point in the mountains, and at that point she's seen something that terrified her. She was sane for a long time, but it seemed like something happened to her daughter. At some point, her daughter went missing, and she's been kind of crazy ever since then. But anyways, through Tanaka's kind of investigation, he's discovering very quickly this is going to be something that's going to be very difficult to handle. He ended up kind of having them go to this one guy's shrine, putting up a massive barrier, before talking about the fact that he went up to the mountains prior, the mountains where seemingly Hikaru went missing for a while, and ended up finding a little bag that ended up having what looks like some sort of shriveled head. And this little head is seemingly something used to ward off evil spirits. It's a very powerful warding for spirits. And it seems like all signs point to Hikaru having brought that up there with him. It's all kind of pointing to the idea that possibly this head being up in the mountains has sort of warded off the spirits, but those spirits have come down into the village itself. Possibly the head being up there has sort of warded them off, and that's kind of bled off into the village. Who knows? But that's kind of everything that the company itself has sort of figured out at this point, but this Tanaka guy is seemingly looking into this whole situation and trying to figure out where this whatever it is that Hikaru is. Additionally, while he's doing his investigation, at some point, one of the guys at school ends up begging Yoshiki to help him out because whatever happened with Matsura might be possibly happening to him. Like, I might be cursed too. I was going to this little pathway in the forest, and at some point, I couldn't even look into the forest. Something was looking at me or something like that. So the whole band of friends get together, and they go out there to the path to kind of investigate it. Nothing happens when they go through there with the guy. He's like, oh man, I was worrying about nothing. But when they go take the path back, at some point, Yoshiki looks off into the forest and he notices something. It looks like some sort of woman with a really long neck, and it's kind of going back and forth like a metronome. And as he's spotting it, Hikaru looks at Yoshiki and says, oh no, you looked at it. You weren't supposed to look at it. Now it's attached to you. And Yoshiki's looking to him like, what do I do? What do I do? And then suddenly, out of nowhere, Hikaru just gets knocked in the face by something. Just straight up falls down. The two girls that are with them panic and run because they hear something go off and they're not sure what it is. But afterwards, Yoshiki goes to Hikaru's side and says, what just happened? And he said, well, whatever it was, attach itself to you. You cannot look at other things. Always look at me. Never look at anything else. It'll attach itself to you. Since it attached itself to you, I wasn't going to let it have you, and so I consumed it. And it kind of thrashed around a little bit. It kind of implies that whatever this thing is that is Hikaru can absorb what seems like spirits or yokais. Afterwards, as they're leaving, one of the girls seems to be very suspicious about what happened. She seems like she knows that something's off about Hikaru, sensed something in the forest, and feels like whatever was in the forest is now gone. That whatever something else was sort of canceled it out. Sort of implies the idea that this Asako girl might possibly know that there's something off about Hikaru, or at least senses something. Which we do get a sense that there are several people in this village that can sense some sort of oddities about the world. Again, Matsura was freaking out about Hikaru. We have this one lady ends up confronting Yoshiki at some point, saying that she's always been able to see things that other people can't see, and she senses something around Yoshiki. That something that used to be up in the mountains that she's seen before outside her window is now gone, and it's now possibly following you. That you need to get away from it. Whatever it is might mix itself up with you. It's hard to explain, but there's something about something you're hanging out with that's going to end up mixing with you, which is Yes, kind of fitting to my theories that I've kind of been building up for a while now watching these first 2 episodes. But yeah, that's sort of the gist of everything so far. Hopefully I explained that well. But yeah, that's the summer Hikaru died. A guy walking around with what seems like some sort of parasite slash spirit slash yokai something that is mimicking itself. And yeah, people going missing or dying because they're sniffing around a little bit too much to this being. My thoughts on the show so far, I'm loving it. I think so far visually the show looks really fantastic. It's got like this kind of rural, very kind of summer heat type of feel to it that I think they're pulling off really well. The sounds of the cicadas and everything in the background are fantastic. Just the overall aesthetic of it. That sense of unease that's always kind of building up around Yoshiki storytelling wise is really well done. How they're portraying uneasiness and unsettling feelings that he's getting. Like even the moment where at some point Hikaru, after consuming that yokai, he wants to know what's inside of him if he consumed it. And he just kind of opens up this little tear down his stomach and lets Yoshiki kind of reach in. And he's like, it feels like cold chicken. And it's sure enough, they show this picture of cold chicken. Like even later on, as he's kind of thinking about that sensation, he can't stop thinking about like actual cold chicken. Like all these feelings of what he's kind of felt, that sensation that can't seem to leave him. But that aside, story-wise, I'm really digging what they're doing here. I think initially from the PVs and whatnot, the impression I was getting of the show was going to be this idea of this doppelganger. I know this is my friend of a long time. It's no longer that person, and I feel unease with this person at my side, but I don't want to let it go. But I felt the most of the appeal for me was going to be the idea of Hikaru, or what's not Hikaru, sort of having the memories of the past person and having conflict with not wanting to harm the person that in those memories he's always been with. They're a threat. They are an entity that should not be around humans, and yet it doesn't want to harm a human because those memories have melded with itself and it can't let that go. That was the part that I thought would be interesting. But it doesn't really seem like it's going in that direction, but it's not really going that direction. I think the bigger appeal for me is how much Yoshiki himself seems to be uneasy about the situation. He knows it's not Hikaru. But early on it seemed like, well, whatever happened, happened. Very quickly, yes, later on, he, wakes up one morning, he has all these memories of Hikaru, and he starts to get upset. He gets sorrowful of the fact that, yes, this friend of a long time is now gone. It finally hits him. Oh, my friend's dead. Even though I keep seeing this guy next to me, it suddenly dawns on him that's not been him that entire time. I lost my friend. But as he's walking around with this other being, he's sort of accepting it. Like, whatever, I can't change that, and I kind of don't want to not have this thing next to me, so I'm going to accept it. It's not my friend, but I don't want to be without this presence here that is my friend, so I'm going to accept it. But then every now and then having these moments where it suddenly just hits him, but this is wrong. There was a kind of this interesting moment where it felt like he was going along with Hikaru like an entire day, feeding into whatever he's kind of curious about. And at some point he's going to cross this bridge and this light kind of dims on and off. And suddenly it just hits him like a brick in the stomach. What is this thing? What am I doing with it? This is wrong. This thing is not right. And I'm not right for wanting to be with it. It's kind of disgusting that I'm deciding to stick around with this thing that is basically a husk of my friend that might have killed him. Again, at some point, they even kind of imply the idea that you didn't kill him, did you? This thing doesn't seem to know. But it's that struggle that seems like it's happening in his mind. But I think the more interesting thing that is developing is it does seem like there's some sort of melding happening. And that was the cool thing that I loved, is that throughout the first 2 episodes, most of the second episode, there was this constant looming thing that was building up that Yoshiki himself keeps seeing things, odd things. It keeps flashing in his mind as he's laying in bed, this weird red goo or flesh or whatever it is that he's seeing. Some sort of symbolism of what is inside of this shell that is Hikaru. Whatever this being is, it's some sort of fleshy goo. He keeps seeing it. It even implies that he possibly seen the death of Matsura. It makes me feel that whatever is this being that is Hikaru is linked with Yoshiki. And everything that he does, Yoshiki sees. Yoshiki feels. Did he see Matsura die? Did he see what Hikaru is currently doing at night? Possibly attacking people that are onto what he's doing? Or is he seeing something else? That's the question mark. And this seems to be slowly eating at him. And again, at the later part of the second episode, what was really cool is have this lady who seemingly can see spirits or yokai or auras of some sort. She sensed something in the mountain. It's no longer in the mountain, and now she's sensing it around Yoshiki. At some point, Yoshiki and Hikaru even went by her on bikes, and it freaked her out. she can sense something. She knows something's attached to Yoshiki. And she's trying to help him out by saying, hey, whatever that you're near, get away from it. It's dangerous. But again, also saying it's mixing with you. If you stay with it, it mixes with you. Now, at some point after that yokai attacked Yoshiki and Hikaru consumed it, it implied the idea that Hikaru said, no, I don't have to consume Yoshiki. He doesn't want the other yokai to consume it, and it consumed that yokai to keep it away from Yoshiki, but he knows I don't have to consume him. He's fine. He'll always be at my side. And he's looking him up and down. It's almost a sense that he feels that there's an attachment that he has to Yoshiki. He doesn't have to worry about Yoshiki leaving him. Again, I think there's a mixing happening. I think that whatever Hikaru is, he's infesting Yoshiki over time as they're together. And that's going to be the ultimate threat to Yoshiki's life, is will eventually they become one, essentially. That's kind of the curiosity they have there. Or whatever that bond is that's being created between the two of them cannot be severed. It's an interesting little concept they're kind of developing between the two of them, and I'm kind of curious how that'll play out, and how that will be sort of coming into play once this Tanaka guy decides to finally find what's going on here. It does seem like Tanaka, this investigator from this company, has sort of figured out a lot of stuff. He's made a connection to Hikaru. There's a lot behind the Endo family. Again, they mention the idea that the Endo family, or at least the father, was supposed to do some sort of ritual, or at least their family does a ritual. And at some point, it does show memories of the original Hikaru, in that at some point he was hanging out with his father, and his father mentioned this idea that there is this agreement that was made with Yunuki-sama. Yunuki-sama made an agreement with them that they would never take away members of their family. That every now and then Yunuki-sama will come to the village and take somebody away, but they will never take somebody from the Endo family. But why the father was bringing this up was that he said, Hikaru, if you ever find a girl that you like, marry them really quickly. Because the idea is that they won't take a member of the Endo family, but they'll take the closest person to you. And so this does kind of feed into one of my theories that I have around what Hikaru was doing up in the mountain. When we had a brief shot of Yoshiki remembering Hikaru and what he did that week, he said, I'm going to go up to the mountains. What are you going to do? I can't tell you. It's a secret, whatever. And then that was, again, he went missing after that. My theory is that him knowing what the agreement is with Unuki-sama, he felt that the closest person to him was Yoshiki. Because every little flashback we have of the two of them, they kind of joke about like girlfriends and relationships and whatnot. It does give a sense that the Hikaru had a love for Yoshiki. And I feel like knowing this agreement with Unuki-sama, that Hikaru went to the mountains to tell them, don't take Yoshiki. And then something happened up there. And possibly he gave up his own life. He possibly went up there and gave his own life as a replacement of his friend Yoshiki. That's sort of the theory that I have going with that whole thing. And then possibly once it consumed Hikaru, it realized that, oh, I kind of like this Yoshiki guy too, and I'm going to go down there and hang out with him. I don't know, that's kind of where my theory is going on right now, but it's playing out very well. I'm liking the mystery of this whole thing so far. It's showing a lot, but not showing too much, I guess is the best way to put it. And I do really appreciate that kind of stuff when it comes to mystery psychological stuff, which kind of opens the door to it playing a lot more into the psychological stuff that I really love, which is, again, a lot around Yoshiki and his kind of conflict with the idea of living with something that seemingly, so far, might be misdirection, is consuming people in the village, and it's technically a bad guy. I think the big question mark is going to be around Asako, which is the girl who seemingly sees something in Hikaru and is able to see stuff that's happening. Hikaru's already looking at her with the red eyes. Every now and then, whenever somebody says something they shouldn't say, Hikaru has little red eyes, and I'm like, he's looking at her with the red eyes. I think she's up to target next, so we'll see if she possibly is going to get taken out next. But anyways, I think that's pretty much all my thoughts on this first 2 episodes. Really good stuff. Cannot wait for more. But I hope you guys enjoyed my impressions on the show so far. If you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content and you want to support channel more, become a member of the channel. But until next time, y'all take care.